Lamed Ches. Mine was said in Motzoi Shabbos Parshas Vayeshev Tavshin Lamed Ches. That was the year where the Rebbe had the heart attack. So he would say Mamorim at that time still, and Sichos he would from his room via hookup into the rest of the shul. And this is a Mugga Mimer from that year that the Rebbe was Magia 10 years later in Tavshin Memches. Says Shalom Laohvi. It's great peace for those that love your Torah, the Goyim. And the Rebbe is going to ask a very basic thing. Torah and love don't really come together. Torah is intellectual and love is an emotion. And my father-in-law, the Frierdiker Rebbe, examines and analyzes his Maimer. That's also by this title of Shalom Rav, the Shabbos Parshas Vayeshev Tavshin Daled. The Frierdiker Rebbe said it in Shabbos Parshas Vayeshev Tavshin Daled. It was a continuation of the Maimer that the Frierdiker Rebbe said on Yutas Kislev of the year Tavshin Daled. So he asks, before the question I mentioned, he asks, Mao inin Shalom Rav. Says great peace, much peace. What's the idea of much peace? What's it in contrast to? If you say there's much peace, that means there must be also an ordinary type of peace. Or like the expression of the Frierdiker Rebbe's Maimer, there's Shalom Ma'at. There's a little bit peace. So there's a little bit peace and there's a lot of peace. Shalom Rav, there's a lot. What's the difference? What's the significance? What's the significance of saying those that love your Torah? Torah is the wisdom and the level of Chachma and the level of Bina. Like we find this in Chumash, it says about Torah. The Torah is Chachmaschem or Binaschem, your Chachma and your Bina. It would have been more appropriate to use the expression of study, that is associated with Chachma Bina, than the expression of love. Shalom Rav, l'loim de'soresecha, for example, should have said, not la'oyav de'soresecha. My fire Shama, the Frierdiker Rebbe explains in his Maimer over there, she'oyav de'soresecha, hu she'oyavim es ha'toira, loirak mitzad ha'toira, atzma mitzad ha'chachma sheba. Those that love your Torah, it's not just they're loving the Torah because the Torah itself, because of the Chachma that's in the Torah. Ki im etzad nois na Torah. They love the Torah because of who gave the Torah. They love your Torah. Very interesting. It gets into the theme of Chanukah, which the Rebbe always emphasizes, Lashkicham Torah secha. So the love is not just about the love of learning. It's about the love of who gave us the Torah. That's what it means. Great peace is to those that love your Torah. The peace that is attained or accomplished through ordinary Torah study is ordinary peace, or like the expression of the Frierdiker Rebbe, small amount of peace. As opposed to those that love your Torah, when Torah study is not only out of the love of Torah, but also out of the love of Hashem. And the Rebbe also adds, Avos Hashem cannot be disassociated from Avos Yisrael. It's understood that the learning of Torah is also permeated and is also done with a love of another Yid. Shari Avos Yisrael, the Klil Avos Hashem, because the love of another Yid is a vessel and a vehicle for the loving of Hashem. Until that the love of Hashem and the love of another Yid is entirely one, like the Rebbe often brings in the Frierdiker Rebbe. So then, when my Torah study is permeated and done out of a love of Hashem, Nimshach Shalom Rav comes down great peace, Shalom Mailam Shalom Stam, that's beyond the ordinary peace. And that's what the Rebbe is now going to explain in the Maim. Oizbeis. The idea of those that love your Torah. That the love for Torah is out of and because of the one who gave the Torah before b'maimer. Now it's explained in the above mentioned Maimer the Friedrich Rebbe. By first having the service of davening, then my love for Torah will be out of my love for Hashem, because it's Tortach. The idea behind this is the main service of all the different things that we do for Hashem is the love of Hashem. Like the Zohar says, there is no service like the service of love. That's also connected to the line of avoida, even though avoida has to do with the left side, with kava smoil, and love generally has to do with the right side, kava yamin. Still in all, it's because that has to do with davening. Klolis inyan havoida inyan atfilam. The general idea of service, which is the idea of davening, ki avoida vaygia that filo love elavas Hashem. The work and the toil and the avoid of davening is to reach the love of Hashem. That's the idea, that to be the lovers of your Torah, that's through prefacing and first having the avoid of davening. Through the davening comes to love Hashem. Through that he becomes from those that love your Torah. That his love of Torah is as a result of the one that gives the Torah, like we said before. He is connected, and his loving Torah is because of who gave it. That's what's also explained in many places. Concerning Abba ben Yamin davening, that he wanted to make sure that his davening is close to his bed. In other words, before he did anything else, before he was learning Torah, he should daven. Why is that? Because that's when the Torah is the way it's supposed to be. The advantage and quality of Torah study is when it comes specifically after davening. Once your learning follows davening, that's when the learning is the way it's supposed to be. The service of davening is its own line. It's the kava smile, and the learning Torah is the kava yamin, its own direction. So why are they dependent one upon the other? Why do you say that you want to have specifically that the way you're learning is based on the foundation of beforehand having the idea of tefillah? So he says, because through prefacing the service of davening, so then the Torah study is in a much higher way, until a level of those that love your Torah. That's when you're davening. That's the need for having your davening beforehand, because then you could reach the true love of Torah, which otherwise one would not have.